Super drive.
Thank you very much.
I'm Ian Shrewsbury and welcome to Top Car Rally Hour. Round 2 of the Sasol Dual Fuel South African Rally Championship, the Total Rally of South Africa, kicked off at the Swartkops Raceway west of Pretoria amid a carnival atmosphere. With the rally doubling up as the opening round of the FIA African Rally Championship, the field included 9 entries from Namibia, Zambia and Zimbabwe, which meant that a healthy turnout of 57 teams had entered the 3-day event, promising exciting action throughout the field. The Total Rally has become renowned for its spectator-friendly nature, and this year was no different. Spectator entertainment embraced face painting, air displays, meeting and greeting the Morocco Swallows football team, and gymnastic demonstrations. With me on this event is Top Car's Deon Skuman.
Deon, it's a long rally. It's going to be a really interesting rally, I think.
Obviously, I think a lot of eyes will be on this event because obviously the first one, which was down in Natal, it was a season opener, a lot of unproven machinery there, a lot of vehicles actually not finishing the event itself. And the guys and I had a bit of a chance to relook some of their preparation, get the cars going. Serge Damso, for instance, I'm sure will hope that he's got a much better machine than last time around. And of course, being a long event, reliability, strategy, those issues also come into play. It's always a very interesting but also a very tough event.
And obviously starting at favourites, Jannie Houbig and Douglas Judd, they won the championship the last 2 years and they won the first event of the year. They have to kick off as favourites.
I think so. It's quite obvious. I mean, just psychologically, Jannie very at home now with that vehicle, and obviously also quite comfortable with being in the lead and running from the front as he so often does. So he's clearly going to be the danger man that a lot of other people are watching.
Everyone's going to go pretty hard from the beginning, I reckon, but we'll be in the mix. We're not going to try and leave the guys behind, so I think we're going to stick in the mix, and maybe day 2 or day 3 decide what to do.
Any new and interesting roads out there? I believe the route has changed quite a bit.
It hasn't changed that much. We're using basically the same area, so the lie of the road is very much similar to last year. I don't think it's really new as such, but definitely very tricky.
And obviously your teammate's going to be strong opposition as always, but Johnny Gemmel's in the mix this time around, and Fernando Rueda is confident that his Mitsubishi is going to be right up there. Do you think, where's your biggest threat going to come?
No, I think, we mustn't confuse the Africa Championship guys because the regulations are quite different to ours. So excluding Johnny, I think the specifications on his vehicle doesn't comply with our regulations. In terms of the local guys, I think A8 Serge definitely is the old hand at the game, and he knows how to play these tough events. So I think Serge is the one to watch.
Another N4 competitor really confident is Fernando Rueda. He's got a brand new car just arrived from Rally Art in the UK. He's obviously going to be a strong contender.
I think he's obviously looking very confident, very pleased with his new car. We saw a lot of growth last year from somebody who used to really turn his car over at just about every event to somebody who could lead a rally. The car looks stunning, and if he gets his strategy right and if he doesn't get too excited, he's definitely going to be one of the people to watch.
Yeah, the car is very good. We've done quite a bit of testing. We've done about 170k so far. It's power-wise very much same as the last one, but the diffs and the suspension, the traction, it's fantastic. So, I'm very optimistic. I think we've got a great chance of winning the rally, and that's what we're going to try and do, obviously.
Now, obviously, the longest event of the season, also the first round of the Africa Rally Championship. Your tactics, are you going to hang back, or is this going to be a sprint from the start?
I think, unfortunately, there's no time to hang back anymore. Everybody goes from the start. So the plan is to go, and then once we get into the very long stages, then try and go clean. So maybe we'll go slightly slower through the very long ones, the 50k stages, and see where we are after that. But we're certainly not going to let them get away. You can't afford it anymore. Everybody goes from the start, so we've got to go.
Johnny Gemmell, we didn't see you in the first event. Happy to see you back in the fray, so to speak. Is this a debut in the Africa Rally Championship, or is this a start of a South African Rally Championship onslaught?
No, we just, the first one we missed, we couldn't get any sponsorship together, so we decided let's go and do this one, but we're not going to go up into Africa and do those again. That's quite a mission. But having done it last year, it was well worth it. And for the rest of the season, we'll just take this one as it comes and see.
Now, there was talk pre-season that you were actually going to leave Subaru and that you were trying to get together a Mitsubishi package. What happened?
Yeah, I won't elaborate on that anymore, but we're driving a Subaru at the moment, so we'll make the most of it.
Now, this is an event that's been very good to you. How are you going to approach it?
Yeah, it's a long event, but last year up in Africa we did similar events, tough roads and long distances. But this is a long event, and there's some long stages, so you got to be careful in some places, eh?
You weren't part of the national championship last year, obviously, but you obviously looked at who was doing what, and looking at the field around you, who are the danger men?
Same as last year or the year before, the Volkswagens and Toyotas, the A8s, Fernando, Skalkberger, and the A7s have been upgraded from last year. I went down to watch in Durban. They were really flying. So I think any one of maybe 10, 12 guys can win this event.
Greg Godrich were first to be flagged away by FIA representative Surinder Tati. Stage 1 was a spectator-friendly 10.82 kilometre blast around the Swartkops race and karting circuits. The tight and twisty nature of the stage did not suit the heavy four-wheel drive cars, but Gemmell didn't put a foot wrong and set a good time. The L&J plant Subaru Impreza was running to FIA Group A specification, which allowed for a larger 34mm restrictor than the Group N4 specification cars. The Subaru crews enjoyed the support of a large fan base at Swartkops, and next up were former Africa Rally champion Skalkberger and Vito Bonafede in the Bridgestone Subaru SA Group N4 Impreza. Berger turned in a stage time of 2 seconds faster than Gemmell. Jannie Habig and Douglas Judd in the Class A8 Sasol dual-fuel Volkswagen Golf were third into the stage. The nimble two-wheel drive Golf was much better in the tight stuff than the four-wheel drive cars, in fact reflected in the stage times. Having won the opening round of the championship in KwaZulu-Natal, Habig and Judd were confident of putting in another good result. But the long, tough nature of the event meant that getting the car to the finish was the priority. It also explained why Habig, despite his spectacular driving style, was not pushing the Golf to the limit. Stages such as these count for very little in overall rally terms, but the smallest error can end a team's event very quickly. Fourth on the road were Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson in the second Class A8 Sasol Volkswagen Golf. After retiring from the first event of the year, they had the bits between their teeth and set the fourth fastest time. This stage saw competitors completing several laps of the main track before switching to the karting circuit, which resulted in more than one car in the stage at a time. With Habig hard at work, teammate Kuhn joined the circuit right behind the sister Golf, offering excited fans the unique opportunity of seeing the cars go head-to-head in track racing fashion. Serge Damso and Robert Paisley had a torrid time with the handling of the new Class A8 Castrol Toyota Runex in the first event of the season. But hard work by the team in the interim cured the car's tail-wagging ailments, and it took a liking to the smooth surface of Swartkops. Damso shared joint fastest time with the Etienne Lawrence Team Total Toyota Corolla. Lawrence and Andre Vermeulen dearly wanted to give their sponsor a victory in the Class A7 Corolla on its big event. They kicked off in great fashion, setting equal fastest time. Not so fortunate were JP Damso and Kobus Frey, who shunted their Team Total Corolla into the barriers on the first lap.
What happened? Way too quick, eh? Way too quickly. Yeah, no, I don't think we're going to carry on now, eh?
A sheepish Damso Jr. was left to rue the price to be paid for pushing too hard on the short spectator stages.
That's rally.
What happened, Ron?
I think the gears are just locked solid. I don't know, there's no gears left in the box. Maybe a small problem, maybe a big problem, but that's motorsport.
The Verlaque sisters, Lola and Megan, enjoy their rallying. Having upgraded to a Subaru last season, they put in some consistent performances and continue to learn. Megan, who wrote matric last year, navigates for the Rally Chicks team, while Lola is behind the wheel. They were keen on a good start to the event, but pushed too hard and spun the Subaru harmlessly before gathering it all up and continuing on their merry way. Keeping it on the tyre is not always easy. Here, Stephen Putter and Calvin Flockhart get things wrong in the ex-Martinez Breers Class A5 Volkswagen City Golf. They would make amends by performing very well throughout the rally.
Etienne, the first event of the year, you went really well and opened everyone's eyes with being right on the pace and leading the rally. Do you think you can keep it up on this event?
Probably not a wise idea because it's a long event, long stages and a bit of rough, so to go full out will be a bit stupid. And answering on your last event, my eyes were bigger when I crashed.
But you started off well on this event. I mean, you equal fastest, I think, at this point in time on the first stage as well.
Yeah, it's nothing to go by really. You know, these are little Mickey Mouse stages. I mean, you drive it like a go-kart, then you basically get the time. So it's nothing to go by. Early days, long way to go still.
So your strategy is going to be to take it sort of easy in the beginning and then pick it up later?
Yeah, I think to go full out from the beginning won't be a wise move. Definitely not.
In the break between the two Swartkop stages, the Team Total squad was commissioned for a poster signing and greet the fan session. It went down well with the supporters, while the drivers and navigators had a brief glimpse of superstardom. We travelled on board with Lawrence for the night stage, the same as the opening test, but this time with the direction reversed. It wasn't as easy as in daylight, and Lawrence was using the entire track and some grass as he threw the car around the track. His efforts were good enough for equal second fastest time with chief class rivals Jürgen Fecken and Dave Levkovitz in the Class A7 Sasol dual-fuel Volkswagen player. Damso Senior was once again fastest by just 3 seconds in the Toyota. At the end of 2 stages, the results for day 1 show that the two-wheel drive cars continue to dominate as expected. The evening ended in the form of an impressive fireworks display.
Day 2 of the Total Rally of South Africa, outside Witbank at Wolverkrans. It's the start of this rally proper with the first gravel stage.
To see some of the action, that's now over. It plays its part, obviously, but I think the crews also now are ready to get down to the nitty-gritty, so to speak. This is the first proper stage, 17 k's of gravel. Interesting to see that in the top 5 we have 3 A8 cars, 2 A7 cars. We always said it was going to be close. And then the N4s taking up the next 3 places, and we'd expect those cars, which are about 30 seconds behind the leader, of course, Serge Damso at the stage, to really motor on the stage to try and get back up with the leaders.
Considering Serge at the head of the field, he had quite a lot of problems on the gravel in the first rally. They've done some work to the car, but he needed this little lead to go into this because he's still not quite sure how competitive that Ronex is going to be.
It would have been a good confidence booster for him up to now. Obviously, as we know, things very different on tar than on dirt. I do believe that they have done a lot of work. I'm sure the car's handling better. That's already evidenced by the times as they stand, and he would want to really maintain his advantage. He's quite good under pressure, Serge is, and if at all possible, this is maybe going to also be a stage for him to say, hey guys, it's not been a fluke, I'm back, and I'm back with a vengeance.
With the leaders and leading the event, and once again he's in second place in the Class A7 car. Fantastic.
I just hope that the pace isn't too quick. I mean, Etienne, as we know, is very, very quick. He needs to maintain that pace now, remain consistent. Obviously his sponsors egging him on as well, showing that he can stay with the big boys, and yeah, we'll hold thumbs for him because I think he's been knocking on the door for a long time, and he really should be up there with the A8 guys in an A8 car. The other guys fight it out in front. They can sit there, pick up the pieces, a little bit of the pressure off. We said that Yanni's got a lot of confidence, and so he should, and maybe that's exactly what they're doing, getting through some of the first gravel stages first, and then at the regroup see whether there's an opportunity to attack.
On the Tour Natal rally as well, gravel and sweeping the road was a big issue, and those roads are notoriously a lot more slippery than these roads, but once again that will be to their advantage. Obviously, the 2 cars ahead sweeping the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the conditions here are different. This gravel stage, for instance, looks quite good. There seems to be a bit of moisture. There's not going to be a dust problem at all, a bit of a wind blowing. Conditions actually ideal, but it's always easier to follow the tracks. And I think certainly Jannie and Enzo are going to make the most of it right now, and we should maybe see some fastest time from them. Last year he'll want to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, they're just 30 or 40 seconds behind, and this is where those N4s are really going to come into their own. The tight, twisty bits didn't suit it beforehand, and we can expect those 3 to really challenge the leaders, and by midday maybe have 7, 8 cars within a few seconds of each other.
Yeah, well, that'll really be the first prize, a very close run rally, and a nice dice, of course, between the N4s and the A8 and the A7s. The four-wheel drive is going to help the traction here. Also, of course, turbo cars still slightly at altitude, so they should have a good power setup as well. And I think the results board at the end of this stage is probably going to give us an idea of how the rally is going to run, certainly for the rest of today.
On to the first long gravel stage, the 17.4 kilometer Volvokrans 1, and Habich was pushing hard, but found the car's engine not pulling as strongly as he's used to. Nevertheless, he set the 3rd fastest stage time. Following his retirement from the lead in KwaZulu-Natal due to a broken valve spring, Kuhn was hoping for better fortune this time round. A broken piston ring in the rebuilt engine during testing did not inspire much confidence, but the Cape Townian was pushing hard on stage 5 anyway. He also felt his engine was down on power. Kuhn and Volkswagen teammate Habich are arguably the 2 most spectacular drivers on the rally scene, so let's watch how Enzo does it. After leading the series for much of the way, Kuhn missed out on last year's title after a mistake on the first stage of the final rally forced his retirement. The disappointment was great, and he's determined to win his first national rally title this year. The Total Rally is one of 2 Pace Notes events on the local calendar, which places more emphasis on the navigator. Hodgson, sitting alongside Kuhn, is one of the most experienced Pace Note navigators in South Africa, having competed in Britain for many years, and his experience would prove invaluable to Kuhn. After sharing the win on stage 3 with Gemmell, Kuhn and Hodgson finished 7th on this, the 5th stage. Although not entirely happy with the handling of the Runx, Damso was finding that it was a huge improvement over the car he had at his disposal in Natal. His confidence restored, he was pushing as hard as ever, winning 3 of the first 5 stages. Rueda was behind the wheel of his brand new motion vehicle wholesaler's Mitsubishi Lancer. He found the Evo 7 version of the car quite different from his old car, and it was taking him a few stages to work out the handling and power characteristics of the new beast. Lawrence's win in last year's season closer has lifted his confidence to a new high, and this, together with changes to the Class A7 regulations that allow more power from the engine, have seen him become a major contender this year. He highlighted his newfound pace in KwaZulu-Natal, leading for much of the early part of the rally, and he was once again in the thick of the battle for the lead on this event. While Habich and Kuhn's style of driving is spectacular, Lawrence has a much smoother style, but it's deceptively fast. He was 2 seconds slower than stage winner Damso on stage 4 and was holding down second place overall, just 7 seconds behind the Runx going into stage 5. Last season saw Lawrence perform a superb comeback to win the Class A7 title after non-scoring in the first 3 events of 2002. He crashed out of the first rally this year, but was determined not to repeat his early form last year with another non-finish. Fecken and Levkovitz were giving their all in their player, but the crew was again frustrated by their inability to keep up with Lawrence. The reason, a persistent misfire that the team has been unable to identify. It has hampered the player for the best part of a year now, yet there seems to be no cure for the gremlin. The Zambian crew of Muna Singh and David Sikoa were driving steadily in their Madison Insurance Subaru Impreza sport wagon, but they were bound for early retirement. Clutch failure would put them out of the event on stage 7, a problem that was already apparent here. Nicholas Ryan and Brian Careyhill were the stars of the Natal Rally in their ABC Motors Subaru Impreza, after finishing 4th overall. With newfound confidence, they were once again putting in solid stage performances and running in the top 10. Last season's Class A6 champions Craig Trott and Gerard Sneeman failed to finish the Natal Rally and their team total Toyota Corolla, but made a good start on this event to lead the class. But a problem-fraught event would see them retire on day 2. Kobus Rus and Brendan Noonan have moved up from Class A5 to A7 in the ex-Rocky Reinicker Hencom panel beaters Golf. They hit early gearbox problems, forcing their retirement after stage 5. The car was already stuck in gear in the early part of the stage, forcing Rus to feather the clutch in his attempts to get the car moving swiftly. The Reds were everywhere, but that didn't stop Gemmell and Godrich from blitzing the field in stages 5 and 6 as they started their charge to the front of the field. With the pace hotting up front, Damso was starting to feel the heat as Lawrence and Gemmell began breathing down his neck. Both took time off surge on stages 5 and 6, giving Lawrence the overall lead after stage 5. A fight back by Damso on stage 7 saw him regain the lead, but there was just 5 seconds in it. Fecken looked relaxed to the service point, but under that calm exterior, the lanky Praetorian must have been fuming. Berger was following his normal pattern of building up speed as the event progressed. He was running comfortably in the top 10, while Habich was still charging hard despite the power deficit. Stage 8 took the teams to a welcome rest and a regroup in Ermelo.
Dion, we've had 8 stages, and perhaps somewhat of a surprise leader in Serge Damso at the front of the field, considering the problems he had with the car on the Tour Natal.
But also considering how sort of ambivalent he was when we spoke to him in the beginning of the event. Obviously the work they've done on the cars paid off. Certainly the handling, because in the tight stuff already he was showing his class, and then now they've had 2 very fast stages. The power's also there, and he's ahead by 10 seconds.
But I think possibly also he's looking over one shoulder at Johnny Gemmell, because Gemmell's really flying on the dirt, and obviously if Gemmell gets into the lead, he can't allow him to get too far ahead, so they have to keep the pace going. The last few seasons, the Sasol Golfs have been right up at the sharp end, and this event they suddenly seem to be down a bit.
They just don't sound right somehow, do they? They sound, they don't have that crispness. They seem to lack a bit of the sparkle and the fire. Our discussion with Enzo proves that maybe they don't quite have the power. But then he also says, you know, maybe this is about endurance, not about outright speed, and if they can stay in touch with, and some of the other guys have some problems, they might in fact still be there. But for the moment, I wouldn't call them amongst the favourites.
I think we're struggling a bit. Our cars, I think we've gone a step back from Natal, definitely, and Toyota's possibly going to step up. The car seems to be sorted quite strong, and to be quite honest, we're battling to hold on to the 4th place. So we've got Johnny Gemmell here running his Group A car, also with a lot of speed. But I think it's a long event, and at the end of the day, this event's about endurance and not outright speed. The thing is, we just need to get to the end and maybe do some development on the event here to try and get our speed back. We've lost a bit of power, and we need to find it. That's quite critical at the moment. Now, I'm very sensitive about my engine. I had another engine problem under testing, so I'm very nervous. Every little sound and rattle, I'm looking at my navigator and asking him, did you hear that? Did you feel that? And the engine was boiling a lot today. We had high oil temperatures, so we have been hanging in there. It lasted the way to here, so I think the engine will go the whole way, but we are having to nurse it, definitely.
On the day, and just 10 seconds off the lead, Lawrence could allow himself a small smile as he prepared for stage 9. At 25 and 48 kilometers respectively, stages 9 and 10 were the longest of the event, and Gemmell was the favourite to win both by capitalising on his car's power and four-wheel drive grip. He narrowly missed out on victory in stage 9, but pulverised the best of the opposition by 26 seconds in stage 10, giving him the overall lead. Having paced himself perfectly on the first 2 days, he was now superbly placed for the final day's 150 stage kilometres. Berger and Bonafide were also expected to gain ground on the last 2 long stages of the day. They'd moved into 7th place ahead of Fecken and Levkovitz on stage 7, but a top 6 spot was within their grasp. Unfortunately for the pair, they were too cautious over the rough stuff and failed to make any impression on those ahead. However, they took 18 seconds off Fecken to hold 7th place overnight, although a scorer's error initially placed them 8th. The 2 long stages were expected to cost Habik significant time as he battled his power problems, but his attacking approach meant the time loss was not as substantial as he'd feared. Yet 5th is not where Habik likes to be on the road. Having won the past 2 championships and the opening rally of the year, he was a frustrated man. Suffering the same power problems as Habik, Kuhn was also expected to lose time, but he drove the pants off the Golf in these stages, throwing caution to the wind in his quest to make up time. He finished just 1 second behind Damso on stage 9 and was 2nd quickest on stage 10, albeit 26 seconds behind Gemmell. Under the circumstances, his final stage performance was mighty impressive. Veteran Damso likes nothing more than a challenge though, and he can never be written off. He responded to Gemmell's victories in stages 5, 6 and 7 with a win of his own on 9. Despite losing 48 seconds in stage 10, he was only 26 seconds behind at the overnight halt and looking strong for the final day's action. Rueda was slowly getting used to the quirky characteristics of the Mitsubishi's electronic differential and was edging ever closer to the stage winners' times. He was confident of winning stages on the final day, and the battle lines were drawn. Laurens is a cool customer behind the wheel. Let's watch him at work from our new camera angle. Etienne was now over 1.5 minutes ahead of class rival Fecken, who was still pushing on in the spluttering player. Meanwhile, usual rivals Chart van der Walt and Mike Burrows had already retired the second class A7 Sasol Volkswagen player on stage 2 with a broken crankshaft. Laurens and Vermeulen decided to take no chances on the final 2 stages, easing their pace significantly, especially on the long stage 10, which saw them slip to 4th overnight. They were still within striking distance of the leaders, but they would have to dominate the final day if they were to have any chance of victory now. Fecken's crew was as frustrated as he was with the players' misfire. In recent times, they've changed almost everything, including the engine, its ancillaries and the wiring harness in their attempts to solve the misfire, but all to no avail. All he could do now was press on. With the light fading fast, headlights came on down the field. Young guns Ryan and Careyhill were overly cautious on the long stages and lost chunks of time, but they mixed this with some impressive stage times during the day to be well placed for day 3. Woodsbank panel beater Rocky Reineke and Andre Pfeiffer swapped their Class A7 Golf for a Group N Hencom panel beater Subaru this season and were going well, running just outside the top 10. With a burgeoning gaggle of Subarus in Class N4, they had plenty of competition to keep them focused. One of the new Subaru brigade were new entrants Jacques Woerter and Peter Labuschagne. They would not make it to the end of the rally, retiring in an unlucky stage 13. After a series of non-finishes, veteran Tony Ball and Dean Riedlinghuis survived the battle to fight another day in their Class A7 Wilbur Park Volkswagen player. At the halfway point of the rally, Gemmell held a healthy advantage with Kuhn's strong performance on stage 10, vaulting him up to 3rd. A scoring error placed Berger in 8th, but he was actually in 7th spot. A 6 a.m. start greeted crews on day 3. Rally leader Gemmell was once again first on the road, leaving Park Vermeer as the sun crept over the horizon.
Day 3 of the Total Rally of South Africa. We're in the Botplaas area where the heart of the rally has really been run. And today there's 150 kilometers to run, as much as on the first 2 days. And Dion, at the top of the leaderboard is pretty close. Obviously, final day, and today they can't hang around anymore. They've made it through the halfway stage, and now it's flat out from here on in.
Well, they're now in the finishing straight, and they now have to give it all. And we're probably going to see a higher rate of attrition today. I think some of those front runners, the pace of yesterday is going to start taking its toll. It would be really nice to see 6 or 7 top guys all racing to the finish. They're very closely put together. But I have to say, with these long stages, we've got a 48k stage again, we've got some 30k stages. It's going to be very hard on the cars, very hard on the drivers, and I think we might see some surprises. The first surprise was quick in coming, underscoring the unpredictability of rallying. Gemmell's Subaru blew a piston on the open road section before the first stage, and he was out of the event. His misfortune put Damso back in the lead, but just 1 minute 15 seconds covered the first 5 cars. Now in second, Kuhn appeared to be on the limit, but even so he was a massive 21 seconds slower than stage winner Damso over the 20-kilometer stage. As the pace at the sharp end picked up significantly, Lawrence was a further 11 seconds down on Kuhn. There was no time for hanging around anymore. Hubbick's crew raised the rev limit on the Golf in an attempt to wrest more power from the engine. It appeared to pay dividends as he posted the 3rd fastest time, but more importantly, demoted Lawrence to 5th place.
Dion, one of the distinguishing features of this event is pace notes compared to normal roadbook. Give us a brief rundown on the difference between the two methods.
Of course, as you know, most rallies in the National Championship run on what we would call the normal roadbook, which is a set of instructions helping the navigator tell the driver where to go. And of course, you also have route markings. Pace notes, which are used overseas and on some events here, in particular this event that we're on, and also the mountain trial, designed to provide much more detailed information, usually done by the crews before an event during a practice run, and allowing the navigator to call very, very accurate instructions and the driver to trust those instructions totally and utterly implicitly.
Can you just show us how it all works?
I'll just start at the top of the page here. What I would read to the drivers, we would be coming along and I would call that a fast left over a crest, then 50, caution, do not miss, turn slow left before posts. Then it gives you a little diagram of what the instruction looks like. After that, there's 400 meters. Do a turn slow right, do not cut. It's again before trees. Again, it gives you a little diagram. Then 200 meters flat jump. 200 meters, caution, turn slow right before trees. Again, a diagram.
One of the issues around pace notes is the expense of wrecking the route ahead of time. Obviously makes the event much, much longer and much costlier. So what they do here, they get one individual to do the pace notes, and then they do a convoy type recce in normal road cars a week or so ahead of the event, so that the navigators in particular can check those pace notes against their own observations and then adapt them accordingly. With a 41-second lead, Damso could afford to feel a little more relaxed as his crew got to work on servicing the Renex, but he was not altogether happy and felt that the car's handling could still be improved further. From an A8 point of view, you're well ahead of the rest of the guys, but Herrera seems to be turning up his pace a bit. Is he an issue for you at the stage?
On the long stage, at 48 k's is a very rough stage, and those forward halves seem to go very well. We saw with Gibbons, Johnny Gemmell, what he did yesterday. So I'm a bit worried about the long stage.
You're going to be able to maybe pick up a couple of seconds more and consolidate the lead to allow you to approach that stage a little bit more carefully?
Well, that's a plan at the moment. You know, the next stage is to see if we can open up a little bit and then go through that long one, if we can make it through.
Great. Well, we wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
Damso's strategy of building a buffer to Raider went according to plan as he took another 16 seconds off the Spaniard on stage 14. Although happy to be second, Kuhn was determined to keep the pressure on Damso in the hope of forcing the multiple champion into a mistake. He was once again taking his golf to its limits, but it was not fast enough. The Toyota emerged 7 seconds quicker over the 25-kilometer stage. Lawrence responded after Habig wrested away fourth place, but despite upping his pace on the stage, he was only fourth fastest. But there was no stopping Habig from taking his first and only stage win of the event. The higher rev limit obviously helped his quest for more power, but he was also using all the road and more as he extracted the maximum from the car. 5 seconds quicker than Damso, he was now well ensconced in fourth. Rueda and Buerta had been on a charge on the first two stages of the morning, leapfrogging from 6th to 3rd. They now had Kuhn's second place in their sights, but made a mistake on stage 14, losing 9 seconds to the Gulf. Meanwhile, Fecken was still driving as fast as the misfiring player would allow. Berger had settled for second in class in the top 6 finish, but a new set of brake pads caught him out early in stage 15 and he crashed out of the event. That gave Fecken 6th place. Reyneker drove solidly to benefit from others' misfortune and moved into 10th. Visser Du Plessis and Tilo van Westenhagen experienced a series of mechanical problems throughout the event in their Subaru, but they persisted and were knocking on the top 10 door. Christa Witz and Janine Labuschagne led Class N2 in their CTH Transport Toyota Corolla, while Stephen Patter and Calvin Flockhart were ahead in Class A5 in their City Golf. Unfortunately, they would roll out of the event on the final stage. Nkosinathi Nzimande and Fani Meyiwa produced a superb showing in their Sasol City Golf. They finished just 7 seconds behind A5 winners Rodney Versaghi and Carolyn Swan, and were it not for a 10-second penalty, they would have taken the overall class win. Brian and Keith Heine took Class N1. Waiting for news can be stressful. In car with Damso, let's watch him at work. There was no taking it easy for Damso. Worried about Rueda's challenge from behind, he was flat out, determined that no one was going to deny him this victory. The large crowds loved it. As fast as Damso was on the stage, Kuhn was taking no prisoners. He blitzed the long 48-kilometer stage, taking 24 seconds off the Toyota. Serge was second fastest. Lawrence picked his pace up to take 9 seconds back from Habig. Their fight was not over yet. Despite being slower than the Toyota, Habig's flamboyant style remained a crowd favourite. Rueda was determined to relieve Kuhn of second, but was using more road than was available, a policy that would later cost him dearly. Fecken also threw his player around in style, despite the disappointment of not being able to take the fight to Lawrence. The long stage 15 offered the crews a mix of conditions, from the smooth, high-speed sections to the slow and bumpy forest roads seen in car here.
Fernando, just when you looked set for a podium finish, a bit of bad luck?
Yeah, man, we were 15 seconds behind Enzo, lying third, and we just went in maximum attack, you know, and we knew that in 48Ks we should win the stage because of a four-wheel drive and not our tires last a lot longer. And instead, 6Ks in, I went wide and we got a puncture. Sitting here, as you can see. And unfortunately, with 42Ks to go, there's nothing you can do. So we stopped and changed it, and we lost 3 minutes, which pushed us back to 6th.
The final stage was just 12 kilometers long, and with victory almost assured, Damso was given the fright of his life when fuel pressure problems left his car spluttering up hills. It allowed Kuhn to take back 14 seconds, but it was not enough to concede the win. Kuhn, meanwhile, was just pleased that his car had made it to the end in one piece, earning him his first points of the year. With Rueda having lost 3 minutes with his puncture, the scrap between Habich and Lawrence was now for the final podium position. There was no room for easing off or errors now. It was a case of flat out to the flag. Watch how Lawrence uses the entire road in his final quest for position. Meanwhile, behind the Toyota, Habich's challenge was fast disintegrating. His Golf had developed a severe misfire, the result of a camshaft pulley about to break. In a cruel twist of fate similar to that suffered by Damso on last year's event, the Golf's engine expired within sight of the flying finish. It was a bitter blow after a gritty drive. Damso arrived at the end of the stage shaking his head in disbelief at how close he was to retirement due to the fuel pressure problem. Also of concern was that the Corolla still had to make the close on 100 kilometers of open section back to Park Ferme. The time board reflects no time for the luckless Habich and Judd. Despite missing out on the podium, Rueda finished with another stage win to end the rally on a high. With a smile, he explains where Habich was parked.
What can I say? So some people have worse luck than me. Where is he? He is about 300 meters from the end, on the right-hander. Car parked there. I think I'm swapping engine, I would assume. The car looks straight. Anyway, after a puncture was the end of the wall, we finished 4th after all, instead of 2nd.
Enzo Kuhn, last the stage is over, but it's never over until the fat lady sings.
That's right, Ask Yanni about that, 500 meters from the end, and it's still fresh in my mind last year when I passed Guy Hodgson walking with Serge Damso about 500 meters from the end. This rally really has a sting in the tail, but I mean, we're delighted. We're delighted to be here. After 2 days of hard work, we really tried hard on this event.
It's been a tough one for you. The car hasn't been quite on song. On the other hand, it's also an event of endurance. You said that all along, and it seems to have paid off.
It has. We were under pressure from the very first stage, and I must pay tribute to the Hodgson here because we had an exceptionally fast event in our car or on the limits, but very clean. We never made a mistake, we never touched anything, which is why the car is here at the end. And that's greatly due to Guy Hodgson's ability to deliver the pace notes effectively. So I have to thank him for that. And I really enjoyed the event. I enjoyed every kilometer of the stages. It was a good pace to run at, and I think there were 4 cars never outside of a minute of each other, so the pressure was on until about a minute ago.
Guy, this is one of the events in the championship where pace notes are allowed. What's your feeling on them?
Oh, look, pace notes are wonderful. I believe they're much safer than blind, and the navigator plays that much greater role in the car, so from a personal basis I love them. Great fun.
A lot of people say that it makes the crews go faster and therefore there's a safety issue. How would you feel about that?
No, totally the opposite. Yes, they go faster, without doubt. But the driver knows the bad bits that are coming, and the navigator can warn him, so he's not driving blind into a bad situation, then he has a crash. So no, I think pace notes are safer, without doubt.
You're not concerned about the fact that they wouldn't actually be your pace notes, or they, of course, you interpreting them?
No, not at all. We've done a recce. I've changed the pace notes extensively to suit the style that Enzo wants. No, not at all. Great fun.
Now, of course, with Johnny having had the problem, you still got a way to go and to get to Park Ferme. Are you sure your car's not going to have the same little melody along the way?
Listen, Dion, I'm going to put it in neutral on the downhills, okay? I'm going to just let it idle down, and I'm going to run it in 6th gear up the hills and drive probably slower than an old lady drives to church.
Great. Well, we'll leave the congratulations. You get to Park Ferme, but well done so far.
Thank you. We'll see you there.
Total's Andries van der Walt was overjoyed at Lawrence and Vermeulen finishing Total's own event on the podium. Congratulations all around were in order. And yes, Kuhn did make it to Park Ferme to confirm his 2nd place, while Damser took top spot and was delighted to be back on the pace at the front of the field. He's now ahead in the championship. Confirmation of the final results reflects another good event for Subaru, with places 6 to 10 belonging to the marque.